what I'd love to do is to, once again, for the third day in a row, I apologize to everybody on the internet that we have been so basically handcuffed in terms of what I could show from my work. I think they've been pumping out my website, and I'm not actually trying to advertise my own website, more than direct people to a way to see the kinds of things that I've shot. Because not being an independent filmmaker, I've tended always to work for large companies like HBO or Fox or NBC Universal, and the ability for us to show clips on Creative Live basically has been impossible because of the licensing agreements and copyright laws and ownerships and the I mean, you wouldn't believe how hard Creative Live worked to try and get us permission to show certain things which were relevant to what we were talking about. And so it's been rather sad that this has been the case, but everybody worked very hard, but it couldn't happen. But we've done a few things in our workshop, and I'd love to, I don't know whether we're ready for it, but I'd love to show a little music video we did for a fantastic artist called Andre Bell, who lives in LA and is an absolutely fantastic artist. And we did it in our workshop as a student project, and afterwards I'll explain how it was done. But I'd like everybody to pay particular attention to the lighting and also to the reflection of the light in the eyes, and then I'd love to ask everybody how they thought it was done before I explain how we did it. Okay, so whenever we're ready, we can show that.
Being with one woman, heard a man say it's like eating the same cereal every single day. What he don't know about women like me, the variety pack, kind of woman that you need. Give you what you lack with my apple jacks. Get you back on track with my honey smacks. Come on baby for a little midnight snack. You'll keep coming back to this variety pack. Salty one day, so sweet the next. Satisfy your every taste, so one you can't replace. You're craving for me 'cause I got what you need. Delicious love in all varieties. Give you what you lack with my apple jacks. Get you back on track with my honey smacks. Come on baby for a little midnight snack. You'll keep coming back to this variety pack. You like my cocoa pie? Yeah, I can give it to you raw. With my frosted flakes, all natural, nothing fake. Come get a scoop of my Fruit Loop. I wanna make your day like some special cake. Give you what you like with my apple jacks. Get you back on track with my honey smacks. Come on baby for a little midnight snack. You'll keep coming back for this variety pack. Give you what you like with my apple jack.
Cool. So that was made at our little workshop, and I'd love somebody, whether it be from the internet or from our wonderful students here, to sort of take a guess at what kind of lighting we used for that. Does anybody have any idea just by...
Well, it was at least one big softbox.
Right. A couple of interesting things about lighting. If you want to look at lighting, first of all, if you really want to concentrate on the lighting in a film or in a promo or in a commercial or anything, turn the sound off. That's the first thing, because you get so involved in the story or so involved in the storytelling that you tend to miss just being able to concentrate on the lighting. If you want to look at, a film, even a full-length movie like Road to Perdition or something like that, which is one of my favorite lit films, just turn the sound off and you're going to see 10 times more than you would if you get involved in the story. You can always see it at some other stage, to see the story of the movie. But in this case, we purposefully built a light box for this particular promo. And I'm going to attempt to, I'm a really bad artist, but I'm going to attempt how we built it. And it was all built with basically materials that you could pick up at Home Depot and things like that. And it was just one light. And it was basically the square equivalent of what is often called a ring light. Basically, what we did was you start off by it was about 4 by 4 in size, with a hole in the center. And the hole was about 9 inches in proportion, more or less. And then I'll try and get some perspective going here. Basically, a box like this. It's kind of it, like that. So basically about a foot deep. Everything around the back and the top and the edges was black fabric. It was all made with basically welded together pieces of steel to form the box. The interior of this, actually I'm not too bad. The interior of this is a hollow hole, and we were able, because it was 9 inches, we were able to get, and especially because of the fact that we were shooting with 5Ds, we were able to get 2 shots at the same time. We used 100mm macro to do all the beautiful shots of Andre's mouth and her eyes and things like that. This is all lined in black, like that, so you don't get any flares, and completely sealed. And it's all black, obviously, all the way down here, all the way across here, and something like that. And steel structure, steel struts here, down here, that basically held the whole thing together. Steel strut, like that. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Okay, so basically the only translucent fabric in this box is on the front and side. The interior of this little 9-inch tunnel, the box is about that deep, is all lined in black. And the only surface that's translucent is the front surface, which was something like what we call light grid cloth. And I believe light grid cloth is actually sail material. You can get it really quite cheap. Sean would know. It like light grid, I mean, it's sail material, isn't it? It's they use it for sails. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, and it's beautiful fabric. It's incredibly strong. It's pretty silent outside in the wind, which is one of the problems with gels and things, sound people go crazy. So even when it's quite windy, this doesn't make much noise, and it's incredibly strong because obviously, it's designed to sort of pull an ocean-going yacht sort of in a 40-mile-an-hour wind. So, and it's actually really relatively inexpensive. So, basically, this would have formed, the front surface of this box, and then everything else was basically lined in black. The actual light source that we had inside was on the interior, but at the back we basically had a whole bunch of ceramic light bulb holders like that, and we used 100-watt light bulbs, so it was something 1, 2, 4, 8, 9, 10, 12. But I think we actually had 14 in reality, but 14 100-watt light bulbs, and the whole thing was made for literally, I don't know, $120 or something by the time we paid a friend of mine to weld some steel together and so on and so forth. Ended up about 4 feet in diameter, and we shot that entire commercial with that one light. And so this is kind of like the kind of lighting that you can put together. We unfortunately couldn't bring it all the way up to Seattle because it's bulky and heavy, and it was purpose built. It had fittings on the side so you could make it high or low for different shots, angle it and things like that. But it's an example of how you can think outside the box, build some of your own lighting, and really achieve quite beautiful results. If we could go to live again, you can see what a beautiful reflection it puts in Andre's eyes. I mean, it almost fills her eyes with light. And by cutting masks for this, you could create literally a circle, by cutting a black mask or, blanking one side out. You could create different effects, different reflections in the eyes. You could put color on one side, a different color on the other side that would blend together, where they hit the face equally. And then, for example, if you put blue on this side and CTO, you remember how I showed yesterday how full CTO and full CTB basically cancel out. If you had half of this as a full CTO and half as a full CTB, you'd find that all the parts of the face that were hit flat on by both sides equally would be very neutral, but on one side, if that was the orange side, it would wrap and become orange around here and blue around there, and you can play with those sorts of effects or do it the other way and really achieve out of one light that you can make yourself for $120 or something like that. A lot of very useful things, beautiful light for shooting product on tables. You can suspend it. I've done in my sort of past sort of commercial history quite a lot of food photography. This would be a great light for food photography, as you could use it as a beautiful back soft light. Okay, it's a little bit over the top when you could maybe just use just a straight diffusion thing, but it's got a multiple degree of uses and a very useful device to have. And you can, if you think about sort of ideas that you have photographically, you can generally build a light that'll do it, You could line the inside with silver, you can do all kinds of things to get more power out of it. So this is just a typical example of, something low budget that was built for a specific need and provided and created a rather beautiful effect. And, okay, so that's how we achieved this one. I want you to talk about just a whole bunch of cheap lighting solutions. The first one is, let's grab the China ball over here, if we may. And is it...
I don't understand why the center is hollowed out and has black fabric. Oh, to shoot through it?
Oh, you shoot through the center, so the light is wrapped right around the light.
Oh,
sorry,
okay. It's wrapped around the lens.
Probably the most important thing of all I forgot to tell you about.
I understand now. Thank you.
it basically forms just a ring light around the lens.
Yeah, okay.
And that's how you get this lovely reflection in the eyes.
That helps you to get close.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And
I got you.
if you look really close, you can actually see the lack of reflection where the black hole is that the cameras are shooting through.
Yeah.
You know.
That's great.
No, but it's actually ring lights and lights of this nature are actually incredibly good for beauty photography, for hair shots, you know, for cosmetic type shoots. You know, those sorts of things where you want to make skin look beautiful. And this was without any post-processing at all. I mean, you know, we were talking before about programs that have come out to help the HD DSLR market, some software that have come out. There's one called Beauty Box, which again is kind of very inexpensive. And on some of those shots you saw that we get so close, you actually see the pores in the skin, and Beauty Box will help just smooth those out a tiny bit. And you know, if you have a slightly heavy-handed makeup person that's gone a bit overboard on the makeup, it'll just help sort of blend that. And it's a very clever program because it finds just the skin tones and doesn't affect anything else. I haven't personally used it, but a lot of people that I know have and swear by it as you know, a really sort of useful tool in terms of beautifying skin when you're looking for that kind of effect. Can we save a little bit of light here? I wonder if we can, let's just switch this one off. In fact, let's switch both of those off and drive all our camera guys here crazy. And then let's pan off the Kino if we may. What wattage bulbs are in these?
That is a 150/75.
Wow, it's oh boy, it doesn't seem to have much power. Let's save the Kino. Sorry.
Actually, it might be.
Is it dimmed right down? It looks so incredibly dim. Anyway, can I have a volunteer? Can I borrow you for a second? Simple China ball, Pier 1, or I don't know where else. They just go back a little bit towards the board. I mean, just look at the beautiful light that you get from that just instantly from, you know, let's just come forward with it if we may. We'll just come forward a tiny bit. Yeah, so, you know, just from a very, very simple device like this that costs, I mean, this looks like a fairly nicely made one, so it's probably $20 or something, but the paper ones, I think.
So it's fabric, this one's paper.
Yeah, this one's fabric. I mean, you just get absolutely beautiful soft light, and of course they make lamps that do this effect in the film industry, but you suddenly find yourself paying $600 for them, you know, and I think this probably costs about $3 or $4. I mean, the ones that big just made of paper about $7 and things like that. And we use these all the time when we're doing a Steadicam shot, bringing our guys, like, we have a lot of walk and talks on a show like ours where the whole team kind of is striding down a corridor. And we often are fighting for airspace with the sound recordists because we'll have one of these on a pole just to get some life into their eyes, into the actor's eyes, just to get some light, because generally, you know, as you probably noticed, corridors in hospitals tend to be lit with overhead fluorescence, and the trouble with overhead fluorescence is that when you walk underneath them, you have black eye sockets, which is kind of quite ugly. And in the case of house, everything that looks like a fluorescent in a corridor is actually actually tungsten lighting, but designed to look like fluorescence, but it gives us control in terms of dimmability. I think we talked about this yesterday a little bit, but we often march one of these or attach this to the back of the dolly if we're doing a dolly shot with the actors, just to get right into their eyes. But you can see this beautiful softness and the fall off. And this is what if you turn slightly that way, yeah, that's it, and then turn back this way. And this is what I was talking about yesterday, sort of wrap, when you start getting light that just sort of starts to round to the nose on the other side, and just turn just a tiny bit more this way. Yeah, that's just a little bit. There we go. That's where you first start getting it, and you can, just with the simplest of objects, even a daylight scene which you shot in an office, I mean, if this was the right color quality, when you get in close, you can just sneak this in to kind of cosmeticize and beautify the light. It's so easily done. And you can obviously put more powerful globes in these. You can use clusters of them to create a wall of them, which I've done sometimes. There's a really wonderful DP, and you can IMDb him, called Philippe Rousselot, that uses these all the time as his sort of catchphrase almost. He uses China balls all the time. So there we go. That's all I can tell you about China balls. They're really useful too for, just the back in the corner of a set way down, that looks a little bit dead. You can take one of these and just drop it down behind an armchair or near a bookcase, or hidden from the lens, and just glow it a tiny bit to give you some detailing in the background. So they're sort of incredibly useful and incredibly economic, and very useful for that those sorts of purposes. I think we talked about our fixtures a little bit yesterday, but again, there's the old Kino flow, which is off, but today we're really more talking about, not that these are terribly expensive, but let's have a look at our little wedge. Could we bring out our wedge, I think, or our book light? Oh, yeah, I think we're done with those. That's great, guys. Thank you. This is something I use all the time, and it's kind of like, I think we almost don't need a stand for it, which is one of the reasons I like it. It just stands up by itself, and basically it's a double diffuser. And let's start off by putting a conventional, have we got a 1K or a 650 first? Thanks, Sean. This is Sean, by the way, that had his baby yesterday, and so say hi to Sean. He's joined us today. He wasn't able to join us yesterday. If we just aim it just straight at that. Now, let's save this guy now for that. This is what I call a book light. Some people call a wedge. Can I, Sean, do me a favor, just pull that piece of card around towards me a little bit. That's it. Here we go. But you can see exactly what this is doing. It creates a really beautiful soft light, and just go back just a tiny bit, and then just turn this way a little bit. And that's the wrap I was talking about, just this sort of really beautiful fall off that starts happening on the shadow side. I'm not going to do it now, but the only thing that I would do if I was doing a beauty shot here is to basically just have a little source back here just to pick up a little bit of light on the sort of, this is what I was talking about, the 3/4 front, 3/4 back principle. It works really well, and it'll never happen all the time, of course, because actors move and they change their positions and so on and so forth. But when you know that they're sitting at a table or something for quite a long period of time, or in a dialogue situation, it's something that you can take advantage of, just, especially if you, in the wider shot, there was a window over here, that kind of idea. But, this is incredible. Again, you can make this just out of sailcloth. You can make it out of diffusion paper. You can use shower curtain that you can buy at your local Anna's Linens or whatever. But You know, I don't know what these cost. They're certainly not cheap, but you can do the same exact thing by, you know, sort of lights that you can get from Home Depot, which I'll demonstrate, which are these guys, which people use to light barbecues and things like that. They're heavier, they're more cumbersome, but if you're short of money and you need to light up scenes and stuff like that, you can do a lot with the same kind of thing. The light quality is identical. You know, and this is probably, I think these, what are these? These are about $50 or something, aren't they? Something like that. I mean, they're certainly not expensive, and so it's just an illustration of how you can use units that aren't necessarily designed for photographic lighting to do really sort of an awful lot of stuff. You could use these as a general bounce on a ceiling to create an overall ambience. You could probably put gels on these, although they might burn fairly quickly. You know, yeah, they get very, very hot, these, so you have to be a little bit careful. And I'm not advising anybody to set their homes on fire in the drive to save money, but you do have to be a little bit careful with some of these lamps. But
I've used this before and kind of MacGyvered something that sticks out from it attached to the stand that then holds the gels
yeah,
out in
you could
front.
certainly do that, or just put the gel in a curve, you know.
Yeah.
You know, as long as it was out here somewhere, it'd be fine.
Just household hangers.
Yeah.
Tear one
Yeah.
apart.
Yeah, exactly.
Gail, this frame could be made at home?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
PVC?
I mean, you can just put this together with 2x1 lumber and screw it together, and you know, and you know, that could be just canvas at the back end there, or you know, which would probably
PVC pipe, this one.
yeah.
Okay.
This is just PVC pipe, and it's.
And cardstock and paper?
It's cardstock, but you can just use just white fabric, which would be even lighter, you know, so then, and the whole thing just folds up and it'll sit in the back of your car. And I use these on house a lot. I mean, even in small sizes, like one's about this tall to sit on top, or even smaller to sit on top of somebody's desk to create a really nice very soft light source, and you know, get it in really close, and then you know, because obviously the closer you can get a light to an actor, the more cosmetic it becomes to a degree. So because even a small source becomes quite a large source when you get it close. I mean, and the opposite of that is true. I mean, that's actually quite a large source, but when you take that away 20 feet, it becomes a small source, and so the light is harder. So the closer you are and the bigger the source, the softer the light. And I just happen to be a lover of soft light because I think it does wonderful things to the eyes, as you can see, and you know, it works really, really well. And you know, this is taking lighting in out of context. This is a component of a much broader kind of thing. I mean, there could be a whole battle scene going on back there, and this is just what you might be using in foreground. So it doesn't necessarily just work by itself. In fact, rarely would. It's really just a component of a much larger thing. But when an actor comes into foreground and you can bring in a component like this, it really is quite beautiful, you know. If you want it to look like that, you know, and just by tipping these, if we can, let's see if we can lose the filter. You will see a complete change of quality when you, actually they probably don't tip all that far forward, but is that, right, just by tipping it down, it becomes slightly more dramatic, you know, slightly more scary movie type of look, and then by tipped, can you guys see? You know, it becomes much. Just come to the front edge a little bit more. Yeah, there we go, and just face that way slightly. Yeah, there you go. Just by tipping them down, it changes the quality of the light completely, and then by tipping them up, it becomes much more kind of conventional.
Yeah.
As you can see, so just light direction, light angle is a huge component of what you're trying to do based on the arc of the story, you know. So that's all I can tell you about this. What other devices do we have? Do we have I think we're done with this one. So this is our wedge book light. Again, any kind of lighting into this is kind of very useful. That's great, Sean. Thanks, buddy. Do you want to? You can take a seat if you want. That's wonderful. Thanks for being our thanks for being our guinea pig. We've even things like night exteriors. You shoot a scene in a car at night, and the conventional way of lighting a car at night is to pretend that light comes from the instrument panel. I mean, it's what all DPs do, and it's a terrible cheat because there's very little light that comes from an instrument panel, but it's the way in which you manage to see an actor. There's all kinds of ways you can do that. You can have depending upon how many actors are in the car, you can put a little spot. Yeah, that's great. You can put a little spot just on white fabric that's on put on the dashboard, and usually you sort of start cussing with that because somebody's put armor all on the dashboard and almost nothing will stick to it, which is really annoying. But you can put card there, you can put little LED panels, but I've even shot car night interiors with these, which, does anybody know how much these cost? I mean, they came from Home Depot, but it's just basically a little LED flashlight. You can get these that, and it's got $8. And if you stick this on a dashboard and get the diffusion to the point where you like it and it's not too hard, it really is a way of, in a low budget way, shooting a conversation between two people in a car. You put these in the center and it'll light two actors, or at $8 you could probably afford a second one. But amazingly useful, and sort of LED light panels, which are beautiful, and I'm going to talk about it in a second, are much better color controlled than these. You have to do a little bit of work with all of these. You have to test them because very often they're either magenta or green, which is annoying. So you need either a color temperature meter or do some tests on your DSLR with a grayscale compared to a normal light to see if there's a green magenta shift on it, and then correct it. It's best to correct it with gel, which you can, obviously you don't need very much gel for that. Those different gels on there. Wow.
See, I like these guys because you can unscrew them, the top, and they're like $20 at a Home Depot. And you can slide the gel right down in it. Oh,
well, that's very clever, yeah. So, there you go. There's, I've never even seen these at home.
They're battery powered. They also come with a card after kit.
Right, so you can plug them into the cigarette lighter and,
$20.
yeah, and you can spend. I mean, like the Roscoe panels, they cost hundreds of dollars, and so. I'm not in any way, we're sponsored, our workshop is sponsored by Cine Mills that makes the most fantastic lights, and for our work on house, I wouldn't mess around with these because we have lights that are already color corrected. They tend to be brighter. We're talking here about when you really are trying to achieve something with absolutely no bucks at all, and figure out ways to kind of make your budget stretch as far as possible, which probably also involves eating at McDonald's rather than, eating at a 5-star restaurant at the end of every day of shooting. And, so these are all sort of very, very low budget solutions for solving problems. And if you just take a walk around Home Depot or Lamps Plus or any lighting store, you're going to see stuff that, you know, with a little bit of imagination, you can adapt, and you can, I mean, even those, you know, those crazy flashlights they sell, they say 500,000 candle power, and, you know, even that bounced off a piece of card on a dashboard, or, you know, just hidden behind a door, or, you know, it's amazing what you can do with, you know, the simplest thing. And it's just a matter of playing, you know, and you can play with the effects of these with stills, and then, you know, work out what you could do with it. And it'll give you then an arsenal of all kinds of low budget devices that you can use for different effects. I mean, you know, one of the hardest things to do, or the hardest things to justify, is lighting interiors of cars at night is really bad, and it gets really, really bad when there are people in the back seat, because there's generally absolutely no justification for light whatsoever other than what comes in through the window. And if you're shooting a big wide shot, you know, most street lights are too high an angle to actually come in through the side windows of a car and light anybody. So, you know, you have to light them if you want to see them, and you know, the director will be pretty annoyed if he's paid for his cast and you can't even see them. You know, so you can use devices like this to really help yourself out, and just pretend it's kind of coming from the front dash, and just clip them on the back of the seat so they're out of picture, or, you know, put white fabric on their knees and bounce these off there. Look, it feels like the battery's on its way down on this, but you know, so it's not very bright, but I'm sure when it's fully charged it's really bright. So these are ideas and you know, things for low budget lighting. What else do we have on our list? I think we might have, you know, those big flashlights are really wonderful. They're sort of very big and rechargeable. You can use those for you know, bouncing into white card to just sort of create sort of overall ambience. I'd love to bring out, can we bring a Source 4 over here? Because one thing, even though this isn't a real low budget lamp, they're actually incredibly versatile. And they're also theatrical lamps. They're not film lights, which makes them half the price they would be if they were actually a film light. You know, because they millions of these around the world used in theaters and things like that, and they're incredibly useful. And I forgot to go into this yesterday, so I'm sort of retracing my steps a tiny bit. Could we save both of the red heads on the red heads are the open face quartz lamps, by the way. People might wonder why they're called red heads, but they used to be made, I think initially, Sean, weren't they made by Ian Arrow, and they were always red, I think, so that's why they got known as redheads. And the big 2 kilowatt ones are called blondes, just because they were yellow, so it was just for that reason. But let's just pan off the Kino if we can, or maybe save half of it. I think we did get into a little bit of this yesterday, but just so that isn't that a little bit? You know, these are incredibly versatile because you can put light basically anywhere. For example, if I wanted a light source coming from that corner, it's a real pain to actually get a light fitting up there. Whereas to get a ladder and tape a piece of white card up there is a hell of a lot easier. And even better than that is there's a material that I actually don't think they make very much anymore called white wrap. And I think we saw the equivalent of it yesterday. Do we have any black wrap around? While we're trying to find some black wrap, you know, basically you can put a light anywhere with these. If you need a little bit of hair light, I'm just looking over here, just a little bit of separation from the background. You can box it in. You can control the the brightness of it just by the blades. If you see you can create any shape you want with it. So you can target it onto a small piece of card, and basically put up a piece of card or a piece of white wrap. Do we have any black wrap anywhere? Oh, cool. Yeah, that's perfect. This is, I'll open this up so the cameras can see. But basically, I think this is just a heavy gauge aluminum anodized metallic tinfoil, and that's all it is. It's used a lot for lighting in the film business to stop light spilling around the edges, or to control them. To a lot of lights, like the redheads up there, a lot of light leaks out of the sides, so you tend to wrap them around the edges to stop light bleeding out through the sides. But they also make this in white. And this stuff, because it's aluminum, it weighs absolutely nothing. So if, for example, I'm working in a place where the ceiling is very precious, or the house owner doesn't want anything attached to anything, I can probably talk them into just taking a piece of this and using a piece of that blue painter's masking tape that peels off without taking the paint with it, as they promise. And just attach that to a ceiling, and then use this to bounce a source 4 into, just to get a little bit of separation on the hair, or to get a little bit of light on an actor. It can just be a little bit of above shot, and then just use the blades on this completely to control, to keep it within the card, so you don't get spill light. So very, very useful lamp. And can be used for multiple applications. And something nice about this is, Sean, can we take the barrel out of this too? Something we discovered purely by accident was being able to use this as a bounce light, that you could, a broad bounce light, and you can control the brightness just purely with the blades, without changing the color. Because normally, if you can create just a tiny glow, and we use these actually quite a lot without lenses on house, because first of all, the light doesn't sort of leak out on the sides, and you could put it on the ground, hide it behind a sofa, glow up a section of wall that's out of picture, and then control the density just by the blade cutters. And some of them even have irises on. I don't think this one does, but some of them have irises, so they iris up and down, and you can control the brightness just purely by using the iris or the blades. But very, very versatile and useful lamp. I use these all the time.
Kind of have you can put patterns in if you want to have blinds, or
yeah, you can indeed. Most of the patterns I find kind of rather crude. They're kind of a little bit tacky, but given the shallow depth of field of your HD DSLRs, if you throw that way out of focus, then it's probably fine. They do all kinds of patterns, like window frames and leaves and
in loofahs.
Yeah. I mean, sort of, if we had a much wider lamp and that was sort of out of focus, then you'd probably get away with it as an element in the background. And yeah, so they are incredibly versatile, and so there we go. So I think we've done, let me just check my little cheat sheet here, and I think we've kind of covered most of our low budget. One of the things that, again, I'll reiterate is, the low budget thing is often we will find ourselves shooting out in street lighting, and I think I mentioned this again, so I'm repeating myself a little bit, but for those that weren't tuned in yesterday, or those that were asleep. It's a really good idea if you're shooting in sodium vapor light to just desaturate, just to desaturate a couple of points in your menu, just so that that incredibly intense orange spectrum is just reduced a tiny bit. And you just take it more into the monochrome world, and you'll be much happier with the results, because, you know, as we talked about, the sodium vapor lights are almost an absolutely pure yellow spectrum, and there's not an awful lot you can do about it. But, you know, shooting low budget films, you will inevitably find yourself shooting with it, because you just don't have the money to kind of use 18K silver bullets from cine mills or 60-foot condors to light blocks of streets. You'll often find yourself but script everything so that your characters end up near a store window or something like that, where then you can light them nicely with tungsten light or a more cosmetic source than mercury or sodium vapor, which is great for chase scenes or car exteriors or running down the streets or moments, or maybe you just like it that way anyway. I personally don't like sodium vapor light. I think it's really ugly. It reminds me of kind of, horrible industrial lighting, but, and it's not designed to look very pretty on the human face.